Welcome everyone to this first exercise demonstration. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about drawing as visual thinking and not talent. So there's this idea that drawing is some kind of an innate ability. You hear people all the time say, I can't draw, I can't even draw a stick figure, I don't know how to draw. That's a talent. That's just something that you're born with. And in this class, I'm going to argue that that's not true. You don't hear people say, I don't know how to do accounting, or I don't know how to do nursing, because those are skills that are associated with training. In the same way, learning to draw needs the same kind of training. The difference is that mark making with a pen or a pencil is something that everyone does. So because everyone has written a letter or has taken notes in school, drawing well has this magical ability associated with it. On top of this, learning how to draw at the beginning is more about changing the way that you look at things, changing the way that you see the world. Let me talk a little bit more about that. If you ask someone to draw a house, more often than not, they're going to draw the symbol of a house. Right? Something like that. If you ask someone to draw a coffee mug, they're going to draw the symbol of a coffee mug, what they sort of think of in their mind's eye, or some sort of a symbol that they have related to that item. And this is an important way to see the world in our daily lives. If you walked into a room and had to break down every object in that room by its exact forms, you wouldn't be able to get out of that room, right? So our brains have to process objects in the world and group them into symbols so that you can walk into the kitchen and pick up your travel mug when you're getting ready for school, right? But when you're learning how to draw, especially at the beginning, you're actually learning how to see the world differently first. You're learning how to break away from these symbols and actually look at the object that's in front of you. So we're going to do a couple of exercises just to start this process, to start to get you looking at objects more closely and not thinking about them. The first exercise that we're going to do is called a continuous line drawing. And what this means is when you're going through the drawing, we're going to use pen so that you can't erase. And when you're going through the drawing, you're not going to lift the pen off the page until the drawing is finished. So you're going to continuously draw the object until the drawing is finished without lifting your pencil or pen in this case, off the sheet of paper. And the object that we're going to use is your non-dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to draw my left hand. Let me show you an example of this and tell you what I'm thinking about while I'm going through this drawing. The first thing that I need to think about is where I'm going to start on my hand and where I'm going to start on the page. So if I'm starting up here, I don't want to start the drawing down here in the bottom left corner, right? So I'm going to start down here on my wrist, and I'm going to work my way around the page. Now, the key to this is not to get a good drawing. These aren't going to be good drawings. Mine is not going to be a good drawing. The key is to look at the actual object that you're drawing and about equally look back and forth at the object and then your line, and then the object and then your line. I'm doing them about 50-50. And I'm following along this shape with my eye and then my pen. So I'm going to come up and around, and then I'm going to join. You can skip to the next object. You don't have to finish that object that you started. I'm going to go sort of all the way around first and try not to cover up my drawing too much. All right, so now I've gone all the way around. So now I need to cut over. I'm going to cut through my drawing here. And I'm going to pick up a little shape down here. Pick up some of these wrinkles here. You can go back over a line multiple times. I want you to notice the speed. We're going to go on up. You can fix things as you go back if you need to. I might come down here. So the idea here is not to get a great drawing. This is practice. This is practice looking, practice seeing different shapes. As I'm looking at these, I'm starting to break these down into shapes. I'm not thinking about drawing a hand at all. I'm thinking about how this puzzle piece fits into that puzzle piece, fits into that puzzle piece, fits into that puzzle piece, and trying to just get something close. Okay, so now I've got just a little sliver. I've got a perfect little triangle right there. So there's a puzzle piece that I can draw. And as these puzzle pieces start to add up, I can see, oh, that one is a little bit bigger than this one, or that one is a little bit smaller than that one, or this one bisects. So I'm lifting my pen to talk to you, but you should not be lifting your pen. But what I saw here was this crease in my finger bisected or ran into this shape about there. So as these puzzle pieces start to add up, you can bounce them off of one another and use them together. Got something that does that. Come down here. Got that puzzle piece. And then I will come off. Do something like that. So if you need to cut across, so I could have, when I was here, I could have sort of cut across here and kept going. That's okay. If you need to go over lines multiple times to find your way back to a shape that you missed, that's okay too. But the idea here is that you are looking at your page as much as you are looking at your subject. Again, about 50-50. So if you notice that you're looking down at your drawing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and you haven't looked up at your subject, you need to check in, right? I'm checking in at each little interest point. So as I go along, I'm looking at this shape, and then 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 I'm looking at this shape, and what that curve looks like, and how it runs into the finger, and what that puzzle piece is, and what that puzzle piece is, and what that puzzle piece is, right? So I'm going to ask you in a second to pause the video and try this, but it's not supposed to be a good drawing. I want you to do it in pen so that there's no temptation of erasing. And really check yourself and ask yourself if you're going back and forth and looking at each point, each landmark in your hand as you go through. So go ahead and pause the video here and do this. All right, so now you're back and you have a contour drawing of your hand. Next to your drawing, I want you to write down, reflect, and write down what felt different about drawing this way. So go ahead and pause the video again and write down what you thought felt different about this drawing. All right, now we're back and we're going to turn to a clean piece of paper. I am drawing horizontally because it works better for this video. Feel free to draw whichever way feels best for you in your situation. I'm drawing this way because it works better for the horizontal video in this case. This next one, we're going to do a blind contour drawing, which means you won't be looking at your drawing until you're finished. So find an object in your room. At this point, I want you to work from life. I want you to work from real objects, not a picture that you pulled up on your computer, your phone or something. I want you to work from real life and have to deal with 3D to 2D. I want you to have to deal with three-dimensional objects in real life. And I want you to pick kind of a complicated object. It could just be a corner of your room. It could be a cup full of markers, right? It could be something relatively complicated for you to deal with in a blind contour drawing. I'm going to draw this microphone and headphones set up in the studio here, and I'll show you a picture at the end. Again, here you want to pick a point in the object or scene so that it will have a chance of fitting on the page. It's possible that you may go off the page, but if you're going to start in the upper left, then start in the upper left on your object. And then make sure that your pen is marking, and then start drawing. You really should not be looking down at the paper at all. Now this one for me, I tend to go a little bit faster because I'm not checking in, but it's still a relatively slow drawing. Now here in this case, I can't lift my pen, right? Or I will lose my place. And I'm just joining one object to the next object. So going off of that puzzle piece method, I'm seeing where these objects intersect one another, and I'm thinking about those intersections. And how each one works together. I can feel that I'm getting toward the bottom of the paper here. You can also skip over. So I'm going to skip over here and pick up, I'm right at the bottom of the paper. So you should really not be looking down at your paper at all. Sometimes when I'm doing these, I start to think about, I wonder if, I hope my pen is still making a mark, because I'm really not looking down. And this is where practice like this will start to break that habit of drawing symbols, because I have no chance, there is no possible way that I could draw a symbol for a microphone and headphones, which are what I'm drawing. There's just no way that I could draw a preconceived idea of a microphone. Going through this process will also make you notice things that you didn't notice before. You're probably drawing something that you have looked at many times, and hopefully you'll see something new that you didn't see before in that object. Come up here. I'm going to skip over, and I can feel that I'm close to the edge of the paper. This is a nice big oval here. Oh, okay. I'm going to stop there. I'll give you a picture of what this looks like. And this is usually what happens in a blind contour drawing. Is you'll have pieces that work together, and then you sort of space warp, right? So this should have gone together, but I came over here and then kept going, right? So you'll have pieces that work, and then like these space gaps where you over or under. Sometimes some people, when they do a blind contour drawing, everything is kind of on top of itself. And that's okay too. The key with this exercise is to really look at a complicated object, to really get in here and look at all of these bits and pieces, where if someone would tell me draw a microphone and headphones, I might draw something like this. some headphones on top of it. Right there, that's a symbol. That's my symbol of a microphone and headphones, right? But that has almost no relationship to all of these little details and pieces and parts and knobs and things that turn and pieces that go together and intersections and the cage that holds the thing, right? So for this week, I want you to do 2 of each of these kinds of drawings. So 4 drawings total. 2 contour line drawings where you're looking at the object. One of them is your hand. The other one can be an object that you choose. Make it be relatively complicated, like a shoe is a good thing to do, your book bag, something like that. And then I want you to do 2 blind contour drawings where you pick a complicated setup and you don't look at the piece of paper until you are finished. Each of these drawings should take a little bit of time. They should take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to really slow down and look and go through this process and really work your way all the way through this complicated object. That's why I want you to pick something that's relatively complicated. So do 2 of each kinds of the drawings, 2 where you're looking, 2 where you're not looking, 4 drawings total, and then follow the next steps that are in the course shell. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next week.